Hey, this is Johnny Beane, and I am here on the phone with my friend David Nesdall. Hey, David, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Johnny?
Great, man. Great. And so I wanted to talk about today the guitars and the gear, the amps, the effects that Eddie Van Halen used on the 1984 World Tour.
Sounds good to me.
You know, he used a lot of cool stuff. He kind of debuted some stuff on that tour as well. You know?
Yeah, he certainly did.
You know, some of the one of his most famous guitars was the Kramer 5150, and that was the first tour where he debuted that guitar.
Yeah, and
You
the
know?
funny thing with that is it started as his backup guitar on that tour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the 1984 Kramer started as the go-to guitar for at least the first third of that tour.
Mm-hmm.
And then he decided that he liked the backup guitar better, and that became the infamous 5150 guitar.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love both those guitars, which you know. I'm a huge fan of the Kramer 5150, the Kramer 1984. I'm a huge fan of any of the striped guitars that he used, the red, black, and white ones.
Yes, I agree.
You know?
I am as well.
And there was so many cool different ones, like backup ones that nobody ever really saw. You know, maybe he would use one on tour, like during the 5150 tour. I guess he had maybe a couple other ones that he brought out, the red, black, and white ones.
Yeah, whenever he would break a string, or if he was refretting his main guitar, usually the refrets would take one day. He would have his tech do it in one day. He'd want it back the next night. So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So as far as the 84 tour, he used, guitar-wise, he used the Kramer 5150. He used the Kramer 1984. What else? What other guitar stuff did he use? What other guitars did he use on that tour that you know?
There were three Kramers, and the two that you mentioned, and the one that he used in the Hot for Teacher video, which is affectionately named the Hot for Teacher guitar. It doesn't actually have a name like 5150 or 1984. There's no space tape on it or anything. Like that. The only way to signify it is that it is the guitar that was used in that Hot for Teacher video.
Right.
And he used a mini Les Paul made by David Pechulit. And as far as I know, those are the only four electric guitars that he used. You rarely saw the Hot for Teacher guitar used at all.
I was going to say, weren't there two of those mini Les Pauls?
Yeah, there was a backup. Yeah, the main one was an orange color, and the backup was a lemon burst, like a yellowish color.
And
they both had the VH logo on the headstock.
And didn't they have built-in speakers in the back?
Oh, you know what? That I don't know. That's a good question.
I think they did. I think there were like early versions of what's it called? Synsonics? What's the guitar you could buy at Target?
That's right.
Or whatever.
That's right. Or
the Billy Gibbons ones.
Those Fernandez funny looking guitars that had speakers in them.
The one Marty McFly used. Right?
That's very funny.
Yeah. Maybe it was another version of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. As far as the guitars in the '84 tour, my favorite, like I said, the Kramer 5150, and I think you can hear that, the beeping. You'll have to excuse those. Those are from my phone. Anyway, the Kramer 5150 was always one of my main favorites. And that guitar started out, it didn't have the tape on it, right? The space
Correct.
tape?
Yeah, it didn't have the space tape on it. And in a recent Guitar World magazine, Eddie actually stated that for the 1984 record, when they were in the studio, any guitar that had a tremolo arm on it on the song, it was actually the 5150 guitar that he used. He had, by that time, already retired the Frankenstein guitar. He had decided to use it for the Jump video, but that's it. The record was made with the 5150 guitar as the one with any Floyd Rose sounding dive bombing.
Any vibrato. Any whammy bar.
Correct.
Any whammy bar.
Mm-hmm. It would have been the 5150 guitar, and that comes from Eddie Van Halen personally. That's what he says.
Wow, that's very interesting. I never knew that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have thought that it was the Frankenstein as well, but after I read that, I was like, wow, okay. So that guitar was built. That guitar had to have been built in 1983, and yeah. So he had some time to use it.
Because that guitar, isn't it an '83 Pacer?
It is. Yeah, it's a modified Pacer Special. Body and a neck that started as a beak neck. And what I mean by beak neck is in '82, Kramer was going to be sued by Fender for that Fender headstock. So what Paul Unkert did, who was a worker at Kramer at the time, is he cut the ball of the headstock. You know, the what looks like a ball on a Fender Stratocaster. He took that headstock to a bandsaw and cut the ball off, so it looks more like a bird's beak at the top of the headstock. And what he did with that is he added some wood from his grandfather's bedpost on both sides of the neck and traced out what would be the Gibson Explorer headstock and recut it and cut the holes for the tuning pegs, shaped it, and that's what the headstock is on those guitars. So it's a modified Kramer Pacer Special body and a modified beak neck that is turned into for all intents and purposes, a hockey stick headstock. That is not tilted. It is a straight headstock like a Stratocaster, but with added wood to make it look like a hockey stick, like the Gibson before.
And that's the headstock. That's the guitar everybody wanted, right?
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah, everyone wanted it.
Even now.
Yes.
People are crazy about those things.
Kramer offered that headstock for a very, very short time on what they called a Beretta. The Beretta is what became that guitar. And in '83, late '83 and early '84, they made the non-tilted headstock that looked like Eddie's guitar, but in a rosewood fretboard only. And you can only get it in a black color or a white color. And mid '84, they stopped making it that way. They started to tilt back the headstock. They were still rounded at the end, but they were tilted back and shorter. They weren't as long.
Right. So they were different.
Right. The non-tilted headstock guitar is affectionately known as the Holy Grail because there were not many of them made, and they were made more like Eddie's original 5150 guitar, but with rosewood fretboard.
And it was the same shape, though, too? The exact same?
Yes, the body was the same shape. It was the same size as the 5150, In 1985, that Beretta body became a little bit larger. But in 84, it was the same size as Eddie's Pacer. It was a little smaller. But that became what they turned it into in 85 was the Beretta, and it was a bigger body.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly, it was very slightly bigger, but it was bigger. And they made them in two different types of woods. They made it in poplar, which is arguably what Eddie is using. Some people say he used poplar. Some people say he used basswood. Paul Unkert, who is the guy who made most of Eddie's guitars at that time, says that it is poplar, because they did not use basswood. They only used poplar and maple. And the maple was too heavy, and Eddie did not want a heavy guitar. He wanted a light guitar. So they used the poplar.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on what interview you're talking to Eddie about, is what he says that guitar is. Sometimes he says it's basswood, sometimes he says it's poplar. So it's an argument that's going to go on and on and on, longer than we're all going to be alive.
They'll be fighting about it in 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Robots will be fighting it out. With the boxing gloves.
Yeah. R2D2 is going to be going beep pop boop pop boop pop, and no, it's not. It's poplar. No, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what those three bodies are made of. All three of those Kramer guitars he used on the 1984 tour are poplar. The necks are made the same way. The 1984 guitar and the 5150 guitar were made at the very same exact time. Sometime in 1983. And that's why they have similar striping patterns. And the Hot for Teacher guitar was the very last guitar that Paul Unkert made Eddie, and that was very late '83, and it had a different striping pattern. It also was a different color red, and it had the seagulls on it as well. And the headstock, the striping pattern on the headstock was different as well.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't it also on the back of the headstock?
Yes, it was on the back of that guitar, and on Paul Unkert would do that on a few different guitars. Not everyone. Most of them had a blank red back, painted red.
Mm-hmm.
But on certain guitars, the backs had white stripes on them as well. There was a guitar that had a blue headstock, and the back of that was also with white stripes. And I believe a couple of others as well. I'm not sure which ones, but I have seen a couple of other red ones with stripes on the back of the headstock.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, and there was also, I know there was the that Kramer Beretta that was at Guitar Center in Hollywood.
Oh yeah,
for a number of years. And that has a blank.
Yeah, it's all wood. That guitar is in the Guitar Center in New York City right now.
Yeah,
and absolutely, that the back of that is bare wood.
The back of the headstock isn't painted at all.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. That's another cool guitar. Like I was saying earlier, all those red, black, and white Kramer guitars are all very, very cool. Yeah. Very, very.
Yeah, I agree.
So what was the deal then with he had the Kramer 5150, he had the Kramer 1984, and if you'll notice, one of them has 1 star on the headstock and one has 2 stars.
Yeah. That's how he described which guitar he wanted when he asked the tech. He would just say, "Give me 1 star" or "Give me 2 stars," and that's how they quickly, at a glance, was able to tell the difference between the 2 guitars.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I can't think of any other of those. I mean, I'm sure there are, but other guitars around at that time or afterwards that had stars on the headstock. You know?
Well, yeah. I think there might have been, like the giveaway guitar in '85 that your friend has. That has a star on the headstock too. But I think that's not tape. I think that was actually painted on.
I'll have to look at a photo. I can't think.
I think it has 1 star on the headstock. It has a star.
I can't remember right now.
One, which is a lot larger.
Yeah. I've played that guitar. Yeah. The star on the horn on the inside of the top horn is super big. It's really big.
Yeah, and it has 1 star on the headstock, but it was like it was like the way he taped up the guitar for the stripes. It was adhered to it, and then they painted over it and took it off.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like painted on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. So as far as like the amps, what amps? I mean, of course, he was using Marshalls.
Yeah, he basically he had a few different Marshalls. His main plexi that he's used on all the records at that point was the main amp, and he had 2 or 3 mid '70s to early '80s JMP amps, and I can't. I'm not sure if this is actually accurate, but there's talk that he had used a Laney amp as well. I can't confirm it at this point, but there's talk that there was a Laney amp used as well.
Mm-hmm. Live on tour.
Those early Laney amps were very good. I mean, they were top of the line. It was before Ibanez bought the Laney name, so they were hand wired tube amps. Just like the amps of the time. I know guys like Warren DeMartini from Rat was using Laney amps at that time as well. So I mean, it's kind of the Eddie Van Halen sound from 1984. So I can believe that he used that amp as well, or in conjunction with his Marshall amps.
Mm-hmm.
And the cabinets that he used were custom-made cabinets at the time. I don't know who the builder was, but all those black and white painted cabinets that were on the stage at the time. A lot of them were dummies, but there were 3 of them on stage that were mic'd, and they were loaded, I believe, with either 20-watt Celestion speakers or 25-watt Celestion speakers.
Yeah. I remember the stage setup on that tour was insane. All the speakers behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He recently auctioned one of those cabinets off on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it went for either $1,000 or $1,500. In the grand scheme of things, owned by Eddie Van Halen, and it really wasn't that much money.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. That's insane. But yeah. So as far as like the effects that he used, it was all the same thing that he always used, right? The flanger, the MXR, the Phase 90. I mean, that was really it, right? I mean,
yeah, that was it, and I believe he used 1 or 2 different rack unit delays. I believe he used either a Roland SDE 3000 for whatever delay he was using, and at the time, I think he was using a Lexicon PCM70 for Cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's what he used for Cathedral, was a PCM70. And that's really it. He hadn't even gone to the Bradshaw switching system at that point. It was still a basic setup just like that.
Mm-hmm. And he would have gone to the Bradshaw unit in, what, 86?
Yeah. Mid-85 is, I think, when he got it. And, it takes a while to actually learn how to use one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was all set for him. It was set for him by 86.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it would have been a 3-cabinet wet-dry wet system where the 2 outside cabinets are affected and the middle cabinet is just the dry sound. And it was mixed through a mixer. The levels were mixed through with a mixer.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can hear, like, if you listen to any of the 1984 tour, you can actually hear how dry his sound is. There's very little reverb, very little delay, if any at all, for his rhythm sound. It was very dry. It wasn't super overdriven. It had overdrive on it from the amps, but not as saturated as it is these days. It was really like very low gain for Van Halen.
Yeah.
I think the old saying is absolutely true. It's in the hands, and with his hands are like platinum. The way his fingers connect with the strings, that's exactly how he got his sound. Because you put any guitar in his hand, and he's going to sound like him no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can play anything, and he'll just sound like, like him, like the way he plays.
Yeah, I've seen him play a regular stock Fender Telecaster and still sound like Eddie Van Halen. It's an amazing thing to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess really, those are his guitars, his amps, his effects. What else would he have used? He wasn't using. I guess he was using a wireless at the time.
Yeah, I think at the time he was using a Navy. I don't think he was using anything special at the time. But let's talk about microphone placement on the speakers as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was using a regular SM57 Shure mic, and it was close mic, but it was to the edge of the speaker.
Hey, Dave, it's currently 53 degrees here in Santa Cruz right now. You can continue. Mm-hmm.
And he had 3 cabinets mic'd that way. A speaker in each cabinet was mic'd that way.
Yeah, because, the way you place the microphone in front of the speaker, it really affects the sound, too.
Yeah, and that's part of how he got his brown sound, because it wasn't directly in front of the speaker where it would be shrill sounding. It was a warmer sound because it was off the comb. It was off to the side of the comb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something a lot of people you don't really think about that. You don't think about the mic. I guess as musicians, we think about that, but a lot of people, out in the audience or whatever, they don't think about, this mic, if you use this certain mic, place it here, it gets this kind of sound. You pull it further back, it gets more of, a room sound. You put it right up there, it gets a real, direct sound.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
that has a lot to do with the way the sound, with the way you hear the sound. So, anytime anyone talks about brown sound, you have to talk about where the microphone is placed on the speaker, because that's part of how the brown sound is achieved.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool, man.
Cool. So I think really, I mean, that's about it.
I think we got it. I
guess.
think that's really for the 84 World Tour. There's really not much else to talk about. I do know that he used thin guitar picks back then. The tour before, he was using mediums. He went to thins in 84 and 86.
Yep.
And then after that, he started using slightly heavier, maybe...
Come on, Dave. Let's wrap this up.
Again in 88. But, yeah, for the most part, they were very thin. I think it would be equivalent to a 60-millimeter style pick these days. So they're pretty thin.
Don't you have some of those picks?
I do. I actually have...
a full box. Sitting in front of you.
I have one from the OU812 tour, and that was used on stage.
I'm listening to this along with you guys.
I have one from the 5150 tour.
I can't believe how slow these two guys are.
And that one is thinner than the OU812.
As you can hear, we
and I have a bunch from Balance.
we're much quicker now with our boring
conversations.
conversations.
Black ones from Balance.
And are those heavier or are those thinner?
We were trying to be professional on this.
They're mediums. I would imagine that they're just like Fender mediums. I have one from. I have one from '84. It's a white one with silver, with a silver VH on it and a silver autograph. But I don't think it was a live stage pick because it was heavier. And I know he was using thinner picks.
You don't
so
say.
It's actually like a heavy. It might have just been a giveaway pick. I know a lot of people actually do that, where they have picks that they give away and they have picks that they use. So I think that was just a throwaway pick, but it was one of Eddie's as well.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Well, awesome, man. Well, hey, it was great talking to you about this stuff.
Yeah, same here. We should do another one of these for a different era.
Yeah, definitely.
Talk about another tour, or we have a lot more we can cover. But this is, as far as the '84 tour, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, because I thought he had a great sound on that tour. I'm a big fan of the '84 album and the '84 tour. I never got to see that tour. I was too young at the time to actually see that tour, but I have a bunch of bootleg audio from it, so I've heard everything. I've heard all of it.
Right.
And seen some cool video. There's actually somebody posted some video recently. I posted it on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it. It was from you know how there's the Montreal '84 video bootleg.
That was on my birthday. It was April 19th of 1984.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which, by the way, my birthday is tomorrow. How about that?
Oh man, well, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Man. But yeah, so there was the what was I saying, the Montreal '84 video, which everybody knows. Yeah. Everybody who knows about this stuff knows about that video. But there's also another video from Las Vegas from '84. Which
I just recently heard that too. I just recently heard that on Facebook. I clicked on it and it sounded great.
Was that the thing that I posted?
You know, it might have been.
It was them playing. It was them. They were going to play "I'll Wait," and the story or what it says in the video is that Roth got hit by a coin in the face, in the eye, so he had to leave the stage, and so Eddie. They basically went from starting "I'll Wait" into just playing like a jam. They just started jamming. Like they went from, in "I'll Wait," the keyboard thing, both Eddie and Michael played keyboards live. There was no guitar in that song live except for the solo. Although the opposite is actually in Jump. When they played Jump live, Eddie actually played the guitar solo on the keyboard.
That I do remember.
I remember that. He's using, the pitch bending,
with the joystick,
on the keyboard. So it's kind of, it's a little weird. I mean, it's cool. It's cool to hear now. I'm sure it was probably kind of weird back then to be like, oh, wait a minute, he's not playing the guitar on this at all. There's no guitar solo.
In fact, there's no rhythm guitar on it at all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Live, there was none back then.
Yeah.
There was none. But anyway, so that was a cool. Oh yeah. What I'm saying though is that this clip that somebody posted, it's from the Las Vegas '84 show, which is pretty rare. You never see. I don't even know if the whole show was even videotaped, because you only see like bits and pieces of it here and there.
Right.
But that particular footage was from, like I said, they were starting to play "I'll Wait," and Roth had to leave the stage, and so they just started jamming. Like he put his guitar back on, Mike grabbed his bass, and you can see in the video, and they just start jamming, they start playing, and then eventually they started the song back again.
I have that.
Yeah. I'll have to watch that again. That was pretty cool.
Send it if you could think about it. If you think of it, send it to me.
Oh, sure. Yeah, as soon as we hang up, I'll send that right to you. So anyway, so that was cool. This is cool. We should do this again, and talk about another tour. An album maybe. Gear he used on this or that or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, it was great talking to you, David Nesdall. And what are your links? Do you have a website?
Well, you can check me out on YouTube at David Nesdall. YouTube at David Nesdall.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it? I don't know. I can't remember it now. How is that? You might know it, right?
It's probably youtube.com/David Nesdall.
youtube.com/David Nesdall.
Yeah. Or you can just search on YouTube David Nesdall, and you would probably come up. And cool.
Or Facebook, just my name at Facebook, David Nesdall, Nesdall at Facebook. You can catch me on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's your MySpace page?
It's not my MySpace page. It's your MySpace page. It's my yourSpace page.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks for joining me for this. And yeah, we'll have to do another one of these. And
okay, cool.
Oh, did you hear that? My phone's about to die.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
All right, so send me the release forms to sign for this, and I'll get back to you.
Cool. Well, hey, this is Johnny Beane, JohnnyBeane.com, all that stuff. And yeah, anyway, we'll do another one of these. All right. I'll talk to you soon, David.
All right. Peace and love.
All right. Bye-bye.
Sorry, I still need you folks to clear out of the aisle a little bit so people can go through.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Hagar. Thanks for the autograph. If Vic or Joe can't make it to any of your shows, give me a call. Mr. Roxanne.
Take a picture with anybody named Sammy. Yeah. There'll be 2 Sammys here. All you guys say, okay, but you guys do great. Okay.
When you don't close it right away, hang on to your receipt check.
Well, now we got a lot to try. So I gotta stay right here. Can you get closer?
We gotta
Okay, Marina. All right. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. Are we good? Okay, thank you. Did it come out? I think it came out as a video. That's the problem, right? Well, we gotta get out of the way.
It's a video.
You guys keep going.
He came in, I had a lighter truck now, a rental truck. Sandy Hager came in to rent a truck. So my 2 kids were working there, they about went berserk, and they asked for his autograph, and he gave them.
I told him my story, you know, and he's like, "Here, let me give you an extra one. Stay alive, man. Keep staying happy." He was really happy to hear that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, talk about nice guy. You get a picture or not?
I got mostly just video.
All right. That's all right. You could probably get a screenshot of that too.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you mine, so come back around this way.
Okay.
Let's go!
All right. Mike. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm Johnny Beane. I met you last year. I talked to you on Google Plus.
Oh! I remember you, yeah.
I look like,
all right, let's go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
All right.
He was at a Google Plus hangout.
I'm Johnny Beane. I know you.
Johnny, what's up, buddy? Hey, remember Johnny?
Yes. Okay. All right. Great to see you.
All right, brother.
Hey, Bradley.
How are you?
Good to see you too. Good to see you too. Here.